Now, this might be a controversial subject, but I think we can all agree that there are just some movies that should never or could never be remade for various reasons. Take a movie like Back to the Future, for instance. What time period would a remake take place in? I mean, if it was now, then he'd go back to 1994, and the real culture shock would be cell phones and on-demand pornography. Or does it take place in 1985? At that point, you're just remaking the exact same movie. So there's really no point. Or how about Blazing Saddles? What made that movie great are the themes and the jokes that, honestly, just couldn't be said nowadays. What about a movie like E.T.? What would be the point? We've seen that same movie over and over again since the original was released. What about one of the greatest films ever made, The Shawshank Redemption? It was already a period piece. What would be the point of remaking it? It's already perfect. What about one of the best horror films ever made, Jaws? No way. There have been so many shark movies since then, it will lose all of its impact. There's no point in remaking it. Now, of course, there are other movies that could go on that list. In fact, if you know any, leave them in the comments. But that brings me to the subject of today's video. And I know this might be an unpopular opinion, but hear me out. I'd like to present my argument for why I believe 1988's They Live by John Carpenter should be remade. First, if you've seen They Live and you're watching this video, you probably already agree that the movie is awesome. For those of you that haven't seen it, I'm going to tell you why it's awesome, why it remains relevant to this day, and why that's my main reason for believing that it deserves a remake. Let's start with the cast. The main character is named Nada, played by Roddy Piper, who at the time went by Roddy Piper, and he was one of the most famous wrestlers with WWF. Then we have the always awesome Keith David, who had previously worked with John Carpenter, the director, on The Thing. And then Blue Eyes Meg Foster as Holly. He also had George Buck Flower as a drifter. And of course it was directed by the legendary John Carpenter. Now for the plot synopsis. The story follows drifter Nada, who arrives in Los Angeles seeking work. Nada's a man down on his luck, and he wanders through the city observing the stark contrast between the wealthy elite and the downtrodden working class. While staying at a homeless encampment, Nada notices strange broadcasts interrupting television programs, warning viewers that humanity is being controlled by external forces. Most people dismiss the broadcast as a hoax. One day, Nada stumbles upon a church that is being used as a front by a group of rebels. Inside, he discovers a box of sunglasses, which at first seem ordinary. However, when Nada puts on a pair, he sees the world in a completely different light, literally. Through the sunglasses, he can see that many people in positions of power are actually aliens disguised as humans. These aliens control society through subliminal messages embedded in media, advertising, and signs, urging people to consume or obey or stay asleep. Shocked and horrified, Nada begins a one-man crusade to expose the truth. He confronts a businessman in a store after realizing he is an alien, leading to a violent confrontation. As Nada becomes increasingly aware of the widespread alien infiltration, he teams up with Frank, played by Keith David, a fellow construction worker who is initially skeptical but becomes a believer after a memorable 6-minute alley fight where Nada forces him to put on the sunglasses. Together, Nada and Frank track down the source of the alien signal that is keeping humanity in a state of ignorance. They infiltrate the aliens' headquarters, which is located in a local TV station, and discover a portal that allows the aliens to travel between Earth and their home world. They also learn that some humans are collaborating with the aliens in exchange for wealth and power. In the climactic battle, Nada sacrifices himself to destroy the alien signal, which finally exposes the truth to the world. As the film ends, people everywhere are shocked to see the aliens in their true form, and the curtain of deception falls. Now that we've established the plot, why is this movie so great? Well, first, it's the premise. This movie is a commentary on human greed and how we're influenced by it, as well as negative influences by the media. The movie puts the blame on the aliens, because think about it, humans couldn't possibly be that devious, right? I mean, there's no way that a company would try to influence you to buy products that you absolutely don't need, while simultaneously trying to eliminate independent thought. I mean, it has to be the aliens. Another cool thing about this movie is the fact that the aliens are walking around among us. We just can't see them. There's a signal just kind of floating around in the atmosphere that disguises how the aliens actually look. Now, of course, from a plot hole standpoint, this has issues. We're talking about a movie from 1988, and it's done in a way that if you just suspend your disbelief a little, it seems plausible. And I also love that this film gives humans enough credit to say that, hey, some people would be skeptical about all the stuff that's going on in the world, and they come up with a way to actually see the aliens because they believe that there was something going on. There was some kind of conspiracy happening, and people figured it out. I love that not everyone in this movie is a complete idiot. The next reason this movie is awesome is a long one, but bear with me. It's how relatable it is to 2024. I've broken this down into 5 key points. The first of which, media manipulation and corporate control. In this movie, the alien ruling class uses subliminal messaging through advertisements, TV, and other media to control human behavior, urging obedience and consumerism. This mirrors concerns in 2024 about corporate media, social media algorithms, and how information is often shaped to serve the interests of powerful corporations or governments. The film's Obey message, for example, reflects fears of how advertising and media manipulate public consciousness. Second, economic inequality. The film portrays a society where a wealthy elite controls the masses, exploiting their labor and keeping them in poverty. In 2024, discussions about the widening wealth gap, the gig economy, and systematic inequality make this theme especially timely. The economic precarity faced by the protagonist, Nada, is something that resonates with many who feel trapped by similar systems of exploitation. Third, hidden agendas and conspiracy theories. The idea of hidden forces controlling society has remained relevant, especially in an era where conspiracy theories flourish on the internet. In They Live, once the protagonist dons special sunglasses, he can see the hidden truth behind the world, a powerful metaphor for the desire to wake up to the reality behind political and corporate agendas. This taps into the modern-day tension between truth, misinformation, and the quest to uncover what's really going on behind the scenes. Fourth, surveillance and loss of privacy. The film also taps into fears of constant surveillance, with the aliens monitoring human behavior. In 2024, these concerns have grown with the advent of digital tracking, data mining, and the omnipresence of cameras. Just as in the movie where the ruling class watches the populace to maintain control, modern society grapples with how technology is used to monitor and influence people's action. And fifth, social critique of materialism. They Live critiques consumer culture and the obsession with material wealth, themes that remain deeply relevant in a society driven by endless consumption and advertising. The constant bombardment of messages to buy and consume in the film reflect the ongoing influence of advertising and social media influencers in shaping modern desires and lifestyles. So after hearing all that, you probably know my reasons for why I think this movie should be remade. But of course, I'm going to explain anyway. Most films and TV shows that have ever tried to predict the future almost always get it wrong. In the 80s, no one predicted the proliferation of cell phones. In the 70s, no one could have expected how popular and how ubiquitous the internet would become. In the 50s and 60s, they never would have imagined that in 2024, we still be riding around in gas-powered cars, or that those same gas-powered cars would be able to give us turn-by-turn directions or even drive for us. They Live is a film that doesn't take place in the future, but it does accurately predict the future in our own human behavior. No, it doesn't predict any new technologies or anything like that, but it does predict the way that people would consume and how they would be influenced by their consumption. And that's why I think a modern remake makes so much sense. Look at all of the influencers. The aliens could simply prop up celebrities that happen to be aliens or humans who are collaborators with the aliens to make them really popular influencers. Their messaging wouldn't even have to be subliminal anymore. It would be direct and people would love it. In a world that's so connected, people would literally never be away from the influencers. Imagine MKBHD or Mr. Beast as alien influencers. And in our modern society, The aliens already have the perfect delivery device. It's within arm's reach, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Everyone has a cell phone. Not to mention video games, streaming TV, and movies. We would never be away from the aliens' message. And I also think that a modern remake could kind of have a lot of fun with who the aliens actually are. Like, which celebrities or politicians are aliens and which ones aren't and which ones are collaborators. I think they could get really creative with that and have a lot of fun with it. The original film also captured the incredible wealth gap, especially in the United States. Rich people have gotten much richer on average, and poor people have gotten poorer. The attitude that the aliens had towards the homeless encampment is reflected very well in 2024. So I think homelessness, along with other modern day issues like the fentanyl crisis and immigration, would fit well in a modern day remake. And as far as the humans who figured out the aliens plot, I think there are ways to modernize the whole sunglasses or contact lenses thing to see the aliens or see their message. I don't know, something as simple as some kind of weird Wi-Fi signal jammer that you can wear on your body that just interrupts a signal within a certain radius of the person wearing it. I don't know. You could probably still get away with the sunglasses, honestly. One thing I think a remake would have to navigate is just not being too overly political in one direction or the other. The original film, you could take it politically if you like, but it's not really leaning you in one direction or the other. And as long as a remake is able to skirt that line, it won't put off half the country. Although, with the current political climate, it's pretty hard not to lean in any direction.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
But a smart script, smart director could find a way around this. Another reason this movie should get the remake treatment is that the original movie doesn't lend itself to having gender-swapped characters in a remake. The two main characters are homeless construction workers. So chances are a remake, if you keep the plot basically the same, the genders will probably be the same. Anyhow, that's why I think They Live should be remade. A modern day remake of this would, in my opinion, be pretty awesome if it's made right. I don't know, maybe Christopher Nolan could jump on this or something. But let me know in the comments, should this movie be remade? And if not, tell me why all of my points are completely wrong.
Leave it alone, man. It ain't none of my business, ain't none of yours.
So until next time, thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe if you like this kind of content, and I'll be back with more soon. Bye.
Hey, what's wrong, baby?